Hey guys, it's Misty Eyez, and I'm here with an Ask Misty. Now this Ask Misty comes from a 25-year-old female. Alright, let me read the question. Dear Misty, how do I flirt with or initiate a possible date with a guy at his workplace? He works in the library and I feel that there could be something there, but neither of us know how to facilitate anything because he is at work. FYI, I'm 25, female, and I don't have a lot of experience with guys. Alright, so I'm going to talk about a couple of things. First of all, I'm going to talk about flirting for not just females, but for people in general, male or female. And some of them won't apply to your situation, but I think a lot of people might benefit from learning how to flirt video from Misty Eyez. There are a couple basic tips to flirting, and I'll go into them in a second, but the obvious first and foremost is eye contact. You cannot flirt without eye contact. It's an absolute must. The second way to flirt, you must become comfortable with your pearly whites. The more you smile, the more attractive you become. I know, it's weird how that works. You actually have to smile at people without the internet or Instagram or Facebook or Twitter. Or Plenty of Fish or Grindr or whatever. You actually have to use your face. And then of course after that it is actually talking. But the two most important things before speaking would be eye contact and smiling. Alright, now your question specifically. You're 25, a female, and you have a crush on a guy that works in a library, and you are afraid to flirt with him at work, which makes perfect sense because if you're in the work mode, most people at work totally switch gears. Yes, obviously, it doesn't matter who you are. If somebody hot walks in, you're going to notice them. But most people are going to be professional at work. Therefore, they are not going to flirt. They are not going to linger or give too much attention. They're going to be respectful and polite and professional. And that rule goes for any employee unless they are tipped. If it's a tipped employee, all those rules go out the window. If you're a tipped employee, you are going to flirt with every single person you are serving. Whether you are a waiter or a bartender or a stripper or anything that is a tipped employee, you're going to be a little flirtatious and or a little more sweet than you would generally be to a random customer. So, but being he is not a tipped employee, he is a librarian. That does make it more difficult for you. So what is flirting? Flirting is just letting somebody know in a playful way that you are attracted to them. The obvious preparation that would go into flirting would be make sure you are clean. Make sure you smell nice. Make sure you have clean clothes, you brushed your hair or whatever. Make sure you are completely presentable. You don't want to look like you just got out of mud wrestling and then you're going to go flirt with some guy. He'll be like, what is going on? Twilight Zone. But yes, absolutely. If you are planning to flirt with someone, it is completely and 100% normal to be nervous. And that's okay. I think it's okay to be a little bit nervous because the more nervous you are, the more they're going to tune into the fact that you really like them. It's like a subliminal wavelength sent to your brain saying, they're attracted to me. And that will work in your favor. But for the most part, really, really try to relax and really try to be confident. Whether you're looking for a man or a woman, confidence is the key. Confidence is attractive. Self-assurance is attractive. The more depressed or solemn you are, he's not gonna like me. That's not attractive, and you're right, he won't like you at all. All right, the most important thing about flirting is eye contact. This is something you do completely across the room. You don't even have to be close. Now the trick is you need to get caught looking at him. But don't be afraid. A lot of times people will get afraid and be like, oh, I'm not looking at you. I wasn't looking at you. Why would I look at you? Get caught looking and keep looking. But immediately you have to smile. You can smile two ways. You can smile immediately like, hey. Or you could do a sexy, slow smile like, like you're thinking into it. This will take planning and preparation and practice, but to actually smile slow is very sexy. Like, And meanwhile, they're really far. They can't talk to you. There's no words happening, but you made eye contact and you smiled. That's very important. But again, you don't want to stare, so hold the gaze for a second. Smile, 1, 2, 3, and then look away. Definitely hold the gaze. Definitely let them know that you did it on purpose. And do it again later. Maybe right away. But don't be like stalker staring, like, hi, I'm staring at you and I'm not stopping, because that would just be really weird and he's going to be turned off. Like, what is wrong with that girl? So smile. Guys also like it when girls look up through their eyelashes at the guy. So it's another trick. Eye contact is going to be the most important part of your flirtation. Even when you're talking, don't get so nervous that you look down and you forget to talk to him because you want to say, I think you're really nice, but I'm not going to look at you. You have to look at him. Even if you're really, really shy, you can look at his chest or look ahead and then be like, I don't know, I just think you're really cute. Emphasize things you're going to say with eye contact. Like, let's say he's sad, for example, but like, why is such a cute guy so sad today? Or, oh, I wish you weren't so stressed out. You're so beautiful. But look up at him when you say those things. Like, oh, I'm sorry. I hate it when beautiful people are stressed out. Emphasize your communication with eye contact. Also, it might feel cheesy, but it works. A slight wink. Don't overdo it. Don't continuously do it. But a slight wink, thrown in key point, and or eyebrows. You could always raise your, like, oh. It's okay to play with your face, but you have to make eye contact and you have to keep eye contact with this guy. Again, don't turn into like stalker stare, like I'm going to stare at you for everything. But eye contact is very, very important. And this can be easily done in a group of girls, in a group of guys, a mixed group or whatever. If you're saying something like, be like, oh gosh, I find guys that work out really attractive. Look at him when you're talking about him in general or for the group, but let him know that you mean it towards him. Or raise your eyes and look at him. I feel like a dork saying it. And it feels silly. It might feel silly, but trust me, it works. Another fun trick to try is when you're alone, get really close to him, look in his eyes, and then obviously look at his lips and get a little bit closer. As if to subconsciously say, yes, I want you to kiss me. But that's much later. That's another eye trick, but much later in the flirtation stage, possibly quite after when you're in the date stage. But the eye contact is so important, girl. I'm telling you. Eye contact. Now, I said the second most important thing in flirting is your smile. You absolutely must smile. Even if you have imperfections in your mouth, you have to smile. Smile makes people more attractive. Smiling makes people feel genuine. Now, I'm talking like a crinkly eye smile. When you smile genuinely, your eyes crinkle. Like Tyra Banks says, smizing, smile with your eyes. Let it go into your face. Let it be genuine, let it be true. And this can be done again in simple flirtation from across the room, eye contact. All right, now that you have his attention, now you actually have to speak. Talk. Now the funny thing is, you might not believe me, but what you say is not important. You can talk about anything. I, however, suggest that you talk about something that he can agree with. Oh my gosh, it is really busy in this library today. Or wow, there's so many people here. Or Wednesdays is a busy day, or vice versa. Oh wow, Wednesdays is the best day to come study because no one's in the library on Wednesday. I can get some really good reading time in today. Or whatever. Say something that you can get him to agree with and or elaborate on. Like if you see him reading a Charles Dickenson's book that you happen to have read, or reading a magazine that you read and be like, oh my, like for example, I drive Uber. And there was a guy listening to a book that I really love. And I was like, oh my gosh, that's my favorite book. And he goes, no, it isn't. I said, it is. My favorite part is the Temple Grandin part. And he actually hadn't read that far. But Do an example like that. If he's reading a book that you know, be like, oh my goodness, I really love that book. Don't you love the Temple Grandin part? Or don't you love the part when, or ask a question. What do you think about the character or the story, or how do you feel about the twist, or depending on where they are, of course, in the tale, use that to get them to speak. Get them to respond. But again, in your conversation, you're going to have to keep it light and airy. If you don't know this guy at all, it's going to be a little bit difficult for you to find a common ground. If you do know him or you do know things about him, that will be easier to get him to talk about things you know he likes. Like, oh my gosh, you're from Alaska. I love Alaska. Blah, blah, blah. Have you ever been to the Denali? Or have you ever been to Eagle River? Or, oh my gosh, the last time I went to Alaska, whatever. Find a common ground. Find something that you can both talk about, something that you can both enjoy and have an educated, stimulated conversation about. But if this guy makes you brain dead, if you can't think of a single thing to say or to open your mouth and speak, put gum in your purse or a Tic Tac in your pocket. It would be kind of weird just to walk and be like, hey, do you want some gum? He'll think he has bad breath. But if you're getting one for yourself, it's another good way to play with your mouth. Be like, especially for guys, because guys like to put things in the girls' mouths. So, that's a great way to be like, oh, would you like a piece of gum? Or would you like a Mentos or an Altoid or a Tic Tac or whatever? That's a good thing to just get a way to speak to him if you have nothing to say. Again, you have to establish a common ground. If you don't have it, that's a great way to zap in and get it. Then there's a move called the bump and flatter. Now this works in a very busy environment, or actually don't even have to be busy. You could do it in the library, but I would save this move for a busier atmosphere. Like, the way it works is you actually bump into the guy like, ooh, oh gosh, I'm so sorry. I've become a total klutz around really cute guys. Or I'm so clumsy around people I'm very attracted to. Or, oh my gosh, I get really nervous around hot guys. Sorry, I totally didn't mean to fall on you. But if you want, I'll fall on you again. And that would be a little heavily on the flirtation, but it'll get your point across. But that might be a little too deep on the heavy flirtation. When you're flirting, you definitely want to keep it light and playful. Talk about things that aren't political. Talk about things that aren't personal. Talk about things that aren't deep. For example, reality television, or pets, or the weather, or whatever is happening locally. If you're in the library, at a school, talk about the game or whatever. Don't get deep and be like, don't get too deep and don't get too controversial in your flirtation. You want to keep him wanting more. And the last thing you want to do is talk about how much you hate Donald Trump and have him be a starch Republican. Let that come later in your conversation. Let that come on like date number 2 or 3, or before you decide on having children. That definitely does not need to happen when you're talking about your flirtations. Now, along the lines of the bump and flatter, body language is very, very important. When you are flirting with someone, you want to keep your body open. Don't cross your arms. Don't cross your legs, because that shows that you're closed. You don't want anybody in. You want to be closed off. Like, I'm protecting myself and you're not going to hurt me. You're not going to penetrate me. You're not getting in. You know, a lot of people like this when they're feeling uncomfortable or in a situation they don't feel comfortable in. So obviously keep your body open, keep your body completely facing him. Another flirtation technique that a lot of people do subconsciously, you might already be doing this, is mirroring. If somebody slightly nods, a lot of times people suddenly nod. Or if they sit with an elbow on the table, suddenly people sit with an elbow on the table. Or hand on the face, suddenly people, they start mirroring just to show that they truly agree subconsciously and they're in tune. That's not something you have to do, but it's something that most people do automatically without even realizing it. But keep your body completely facing this guy. Let it be open. Let it be aware. And be interested. Let them know, like, yeah, sure. I remember that. Yeah, what were your thoughts? Keep getting their opinion. Keep agreeing with them and keep them talking. The more they talk, the more they're like, wow, I really like talking to that girl. If you do all the talking, they're going to start thinking, oh my God, I can't get a word in edgewise. And then they tune out. Keep him talking. Don't let him tune out. Another thing that guys definitely pay attention to, whether they know it or not, is girls play with their hair. Now, I'm having my hair to do up, but grab a piece of hair and play with it. When girls get nervous or when they find a guy attractive, subconsciously their bodies turn on. And I don't know if it's a biblical thing, but suddenly girls like to play with hair. Maybe because men think our beauty is in our hair. I don't know. But play with your hair. Like you're thinking, like, oh, pull your hair to the side and just play with it and talk to him. Make sure your hair is washed and it smells good. You don't want greasy fumes coming off your hair, but play with your hair. That's another great body language. And if you are confident enough, don't be afraid to touch him. Don't grab him. Don't hold on to him. But, oh my gosh, yeah. Or if he says something really funny, be like, yeah. Lightly touch him. Or put your hand, like if he's getting emotional or serious, put your hand on his and be like, yeah, I get you. I totally understand. Don't be afraid to emphasize what you're saying with just little touches. Pretend there's something on his I would, if you're really nervous, go with the chest area. Be like, oh. And get something imaginary off. Obviously, you want it closer to his face so he can't look down and see that there's nothing there, that he can like agree with you. Oh, thanks. Or on his face. Make a wish you have an eyelash or whatever. This works in a couple ways. It's a maternal mothering thing. Lets them know subconsciously that you care. You're looking out for their best interest. You're helping them. You want them to be beautiful and confident and attractive. But also, it's breaking the touch barrier. Now, another thing would be touching the knees or feet or legs and don't pull away. This works especially on a bus or if you're sitting down at a table. Bump his leg and don't pull away. Now, this is something I truly became aware of when I went to Poland. When I went to Poland for a month, intimacy and the personal bubble is much different overseas. When I came back to America, I realized, whoa, Americans don't like people to touch at all. Like they're so isolated. But it's okay to bump our legs. It's okay to bump your knees. It's okay to bump your feet. Don't do it hard. Don't do it obvious. But if you're talking like, oh, and lean forward and accidentally bump his knee, don't be like, oh, pull it away. That's rejection. Leave his knee touching your knee and let him pull away if he wants to. Or just let it gently rest upon his leg. Don't be aggressive. Don't be forceful. Be gentle and let it just be there. Now the trick is to keep him wanting more until he has the courage to ask you out or until you have the courage to ask him out. You're gonna have to keep flirting with him. Every time you see him at the library. I wouldn't do it every single day and not every time if he's constantly walking by, but definitely go out of your way to be like, hey, I love seeing you here. What's going on? Hi. How are you today? But you have to keep him wanting more, which means keep your flirtations to 5 to 10 minutes until he has the courage or you have the courage to ask him out. Until then, obviously, you're going to have hours together. But until then, less is more. If you spend too much time, if you're too chattery. No. All right, now, if you do decide to ask him out and you're really nervous, don't ask him out one-on-one. Ask him to a group date. Be like, oh my gosh, some of my friends are going to see whatever movie on Friday, or there's a game on Saturday, or hopefully by now you have a common ground, and be like, oh, he loves art museums, or he loves exhibits, or such and such is happening in town. That'd be a great thing to go to. Invite him to a group thing like that. Or if you have the courage to do it just you, be like, hey, what are you doing on Saturday? Don't do it tonight. Tonight shows desperation. What are you doing later? What are you doing tonight? You want to hang out tonight? No. Plan ahead. Show that you want to think long term with this guy. This is not a hookup for you. This is a guy you're interested in. Let him know you are planning in advance. Hey, what are you doing Saturday? I think it'd be fun to go to that whatever. Do you want to try it? Keep open-ended questions. Don't let him say yes or no. Say, what are you doing Saturday? What do you think about what's going on Saturday? What do you think about so-and-so's playing at the whatever? What do you think about them? That will take a little homework on your part to find out what's happening locally on Friday or Saturday. But plan ahead and hopefully it'll be a fun event for you. Now, if you're truly, truly nervous and scared to death to flirt with this guy, practice flirting on everyone. Your waiters, for example, they're already going to be flirting back with you. Flirt with them. Let it be a two-way street. You never know what's going to happen. Think of it like the job. For example, we always give the best interview for the job we don't want. Flirt with the guy you don't want. It's much more relaxed and easy to talk to somebody you are not sexually attracted to. Flirt with him and get practice. Be like, oh, that line worked, or he really responded when I said whatever, and then try it with the guy you do like. Trust me, practice makes perfect. Practice on people and then get the courage to actually talk to your dream guy. All right, now this specific situation does not apply to the library, but if there are two single men ever, and they're both out cruising or flirting or whatever, instead of thinking of one as the alpha and one as the wingman, think of them both as the wingman. Now, think of which one you really like the most and go for the wingman. Trust me on the situation. Don't flirt with the first guy you want. Like I just said, go for the job you don't want first. And there's a couple reasons why. Men are competitive. They also want what they cannot have. If you start flirting with Tom, Dick and Harry are going to be like, hey, well, why is Tom getting the girl? And they're going to try harder. Guys don't care. Guys, unless they're gay guys, they don't have a rule. Like, I call it first, it's mine. I know gay guys are like, I call dibs, that's mine. And that's a different situation. But straight guys, I don't think straight guys call dibs on girls. That you're flirting with her, but I want her. I'm going to take her from you. And it becomes a game. It becomes a challenge. It becomes a rivalry. And then if Dick and Harry rise up and you really want Dick or Harry, then go in for the kill. Be like, for example, if one of them says, hey, I'm going to go get a drink or whatever, be like, I'll come with you. And go with them. Split off. Get out of the group. Trust me, men are competitive. They want what they can't have. Trust me, I used to be a man. Trust me, like I said a moment ago, your best interview is for the job you don't want. Now imagine you're flirting with Tom, like a job interview. You're applying for Sprint, right? You're having a great interview with Sprint, but you don't want Sprint, you want T-Mobile. Well, just so happens Sprint has a wingman, and T-Mobile's there watching your game all along. T-Mobile knows that you're witty and funny and smart and smooth and sincere and self-confident and sexy. You're spitting your A game to Sprint, but T-Mobile's paying attention. Trust me, don't ignore the wingman. But compliments almost always work. You have to be sincere in your compliment and be careful of what body parts you're complimenting. If you compliment a girl on her body, especially quickly, she's going to think you're a pig and not interested. But if you compliment her eyes or her smile or even her hair or possibly her wardrobe, that's kind of safe. But back to you and your library man. I really hope that you get the guy. I think it's fun to flirt. I think it's fun to have fun. Have a good time no matter what. Again, don't be nervous. Stay relaxed. Stay confident. Keep the conversation airy and light. and brief, under 10 minutes. You don't want to bore him. Keep him wanting more. Definitely make lots and lots of eye contact and lots of smiles. Don't be afraid to compliment him and let him know you're interested, but let him come to you. And if he just is afraid to lose his job and never comes to you, then ask him out on a group date or ask him out one-on-one. Be like, hey, you know, there's a food truck event on Saturday I was really wanting to check out. Would you like to go with me? I really would hate to go by myself, and I would love to have a cute guy with me, or whatever. Good luck. Have fun. Don't be nervous. Loving you is easy.